Today we have an interview with Bishop John David Schofield. Today is the 23rd of November, 2010, and we want to talk about the past and we want to talk about the future. So I have some questions that I've composed ahead of time, and in the time we allow, we hopefully can get these answered. This is a question that is more of a emotional one. When did you first feel called to the priesthood?
I have a very difficult time answering that because as a child I was always fascinated with what happened at the altar. And I can remember, and I'm sure lots of little boys did this, but I can remember setting up an altar and saying Mass with Necco wafers and giving communion to any living thing I could give communion to. But the serious call, it doesn't sound too serious, but the serious call came in my junior year in high school. I was seated in Holy Trinity Menlo Park here in California, and we had a wonderful priest by the name of Father Gardner Smith. He was the Pied Piper of all teenagers. The problem was that for all of his gifts, he was a terrible preacher. And as I sat in the pew one Sunday morning, listening to Father Gardner, I thought to myself, I could do a better job than that. And I haven't even gone to college, let alone seminary. And as I thought about it, by the time the end of Mass came, I met him at the door and I said, Father Smith, do you know what I'm going to do? He said, I can never guess what you're going to do. What are you going to do? I said, I am going to become a priest. Well, when he picked himself up from laughing, he said, why don't you come back and see me in about 4 years? And that way you'll be a junior in college and we'll talk seriously about that. That, I guess, was the beginning, but I did take that very seriously. None of my friends did. My parents certainly didn't. And in fact, I can remember coming in late one night and overhearing a conversation between my mother and father. And I can remember my mother saying to my father, Dave, look at it this way. Going into the church isn't as bad as if he were going to go into the theater. And you know he can't add 2 and 2 together, so he'll never be a businessman like you. So just accept the fact he's going to be a priest. I had to smile because what she was saying was absolutely true. And indeed, by the time I was ordained to the priesthood, my dad was very proud of that. But it's interesting, the call itself, I would suggest, was something that evolved. And as I look back now, I'm embarrassed at some of my early thoughts about what I was going to do for the church. You know, I was going to be God's gift to the church. And I think the longer you're involved, the more humility the Lord enables you to have.